Hi, everybody. I'm Annabelle Fraser. I'm a naturopath and health coach based in Rome. And I'm here with my friend, lovely astrologer, very knowledgeable lady, Laurie Barnes. And we do these episodes. This is actually episode 12, all about astrology and natural health. And there's some really interesting information that we get from Laurie twice a month. So every new moon and every full moon, we do these shows, and we link it up with how to use essential oils to help you manage your emotions during these moon phases. So right now, we're just about to experience another full moon, and we're here to talk to you about how you can adapt to those feelings, those experiences, and those energies with grace. So I'll hand over to Laurie, who can introduce the topic to us this month.
Hello, everyone. So it's a full moon. If you look up in the sky, you probably see the moon is getting very big and round and white because the full moon is upon us. We are recording on Friday, and the full moon in the United States is actually this evening. And then in Rome, Italy, where we are, it's going to take place in the middle of the night, probably while you're sleeping, around 4:30 in the morning. So this month, our theme is adapting with grace, because the full moon is in Aquarius. And for you Leos out there, the sun is now in Leo. It just moved actually yesterday. So the energy, the reason, I guess I should say, why our focus is on adapting with grace is because there's a number of different things happening in the sky that are in signs like Aquarius and Leo that are more fixed. It's a term we use in astrology, but it's pretty understandable that this is energy that's about maintaining and about keeping things in a focused direction. And so Aquarius, though, is interesting because it's a little bit of both. And I think that's why adapting with grace is really the message for this full moon, because sometimes a lot of stuff in the sky that's in with this type of fixed energy, we try to hold on and can become sometimes rigid and inflexible with inevitable change. And so then we look at Aquarius, which is an innovative sign. It is very rebellious and about kind of going against the tradition. And so that is the energy, is this I like to look at things in terms of archetypes. So the two archetypes that I talk a lot about in the blog is the rebel versus the traditionalist. And when you have the rebel who's trying to be progressive and break new ground and do innovative new ways of doing things, and then that rebel archetype or energy comes up against the tradition, the old way of doing things. And I want to be real careful about saying the old way, but it's those things that when you find yourself saying something like, oh, we do it because this is how we've always done it, right? That's kind of a sign that maybe you want to relook at it and be sure that you're doing it because it's the way that is the best way to do it, and not just because, oh, it's the way that we've always done it. Okay. And I think that's a lot of the energy going on. And I mean, for sure, out in the world, we've been seeing this for a while, and this energy is actually a kind of a year-long energy. This is not just for this particular full moon, but it's highlighted this full moon because it just so happens that some of the other things going in the sky that take a longer amount of time are also similar kind of energy. So I feel like it's really highlighted at this time. But do keep in mind that this is energy that's happening all year long. And so if it's resonating with you, then this is a really good time to pay attention to these energies and to read up about it, to find out what you can do when you're when you're rebel and you're traditionalist, both of them who live inside of you are kind of like challenging each other. So we'll talk more later on in this episode about things that you can do and some journaling prompts about this particular energy vibe. But adapting with grace is about that. So how do we adapt to inevitable change gracefully, and rather than clinging so tightly to how it was before that you get put into a position where things can break, right? Rigid things are more breakable, flexible things are more adaptable. So what we want to do is try to help you go more on the adaptable side of things than the rigid side of things. And I'm sure that there's an essential oil to help with that.
Yeah, it was funny when you introduced the topic to me, Laurie, about this month's full moon. Just immediately, this oil blend from Doterra, which is the company that I use all of their oils. It was adaptive, it's called. So it was just like perfect. I know, it's just this. Yeah. This blend of oils is one of my favorites. It comes as a 15 ml bottle of essential oil, but you can also get it as a roll-on like this, which is it's got the pure essential oil that's also been diluted with the coconut oil, so it's easier to apply. And I actually wear it a lot like this, like perfume. It's got lavender and magnolia and neroli, sweet gum and spearmint and wild orange and copaiba and rosemary. I said rosemary, but it's just like such beautiful oils in there that come together to just really help us release some of that tension and that stress that we might be feeling, or some of that resistance to change. It just helps us let go a little bit, helps us feel calmer, but still alert. It's not the type of oil that's gonna, put you to sleep. It's just a really nice blend that both calms and also uplifts at the same time. So you can use it in different ways. So either, as I just showed you, or if you have the 15 ml bottle, you can put a few drops into an Epsom salt bath, which is a really nice way, just to take some time out. And also it's a nice time to just reflect a little bit on how you're feeling during this moon phase. And maybe contemplate, those things that you've been saying, Laurie, in terms of, where am I being, rigid and inflexible, and, just have a little moment for yourself. You can also be used just as a simple massage. That's also a really nice way to absorb the oil. When you have the 15 ml bottle, which is the pure essential oil, you dilute it with a carrier oil such as organic coconut oil or almond oil, and you can apply to the body like that. Another really nice way, as with most of these oils that I talk about, is under the feet. When you apply them under the feet, that's a really nice way to get a systemic effect on the body. So adaptive, this is my the one that I've chosen for this episode, and I think it goes really, really well with some of the things that you're going to now talk about in terms of how we can benefit from this time.
Yeah I love thinking about using that oil to help bring out the inner rebel, to to progress forward and evaluate where we are rigid, which is one of our journaling prompts. So for the actual full moon, which is like I said, tonight or in the middle of the night, depending on where you are, that gives us the weekend really to do full moon type of any kind of rituals that you like to do around the moon phases. So here are some ideas for what to do this weekend. So this is really about letting the rebel out, because it is an Aquarian full moon. And you want to just, I think clear your mind. It's an air sign. The air signs tend to just really love fresh air. So if there's only one thing you can do, get out of the house and get some fresh air. Go where there's fresh air. So maybe if you're in the city and you're around a lot of cars or in the train a lot, go to a park. Or if you can get out to the sea or out to the country, just get some fresh air. And then journal. I'm a big believer that journaling helps discover things that maybe we wouldn't do if we didn't take the time to sit and think about or write about like what's going on. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? And then, but this is intentional journaling. So this is about evaluating where are you most adaptable and where are you most stubborn and fixed. And then try looking at the different parts of your life, your family, your work, your friends, and see, there's a difference sometimes in the environment. Like in one environment, you might be the rebel, you might be the one pushing progression and having to deal with traditionalists trying to no, we've always done it this way, we got to keep doing it this way. And you have to think about how are you going to work with that energy in that environment, where at home or with friends, you may be the one saying, no, we always go on vacation to this place. And your friends like, no, let's try something different. Or your family wants to go somewhere different. So these energies are within you. I hope that I was clear on that.
We're talking just one or the other. You're both.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They both live in you, but is it balanced? Like, do you have a balance of this? Or do you tend to be more of the rebel and kind of stuff your traditionalists in the closet and pretend like they don't exist, or the other way around? This is a really good time to think about those things in all the different areas of your life, and then make some conscious decisions as to, is this balanced or is it imbalanced? And if it's out of balance, how can you bring it back into balance? So talk with your friends. So Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius is it's an air sign, which just automatically means it's a social sign. And so it's a good time to talk to some of your friends, especially your rational, pragmatic friends, just to, talk about this energy and get their input. And so, yes, journaling is my number one, or journaling, number one is get out and get fresh air. Number two is journaling. And then do something really unique. So this is another thing that's very Aquarian. Aquarians walk to their own beat. And I know we can say that about all signs, or, any sign can say, I'm very unique. We are all unique. Absolutely. Aquarius really embraces this concept of uniqueness. And so it's a really good time to let that uniqueness out, especially if you feel like there's something that's unique about you that you are shy about or embarrassed about, or that you have to contain because you're always in a more conservative environment. Take this weekend and let that I'm calling it a rebel because it's an archetype, but let that part of you out that really does what you want to do without consideration of trying to please others, without trying to fit some sort of identity to make everyone else happy. And so this is a really good time to just let all of your colors show. And then were you going to say something?
No, I was just thinking about that. In terms of, so how would somebody do that? Just in terms of what they're saying, that maybe they might keep to themselves, or would it be, I don't know, even just kind of the way that you normally walk to the shops or something? You just,
I think a lot, it's about how we talk, how we dress, what we do with our time. I'm going to post a link when we get this posted on social media. I wrote a whole article on mindfulness approaches, or mindful approaches to well-being, because it ties in so much with how we recognize ourselves. I think a lot of times we don't, we go through life kind of on autopilot, and we don't take the time to allow ourselves to be very uniquely who we are. And that's what I think. I know usually I have a really long list of all kinds of things to do, but I think that this full moon, it's a time to really shine the light on, because it's a full moon. So we're talking like a bright light, let it shine on some of those dark areas, dark. And that, I don't mean dark as in negative, but dark as in we don't see them.
Yeah.
Like, where in our life are we hiding our personality, our unique person, our unique person, unique? Where are you? And that takes a lot of mindfulness practice that a lot of people aren't familiar with, or they don't know how to do it. And so the simple way to approach life in a mindful way is to and intentionally pay attention to what you're saying, to what you're doing, and take pauses more often, or pauses before you respond and react to people, and think about, what is your body saying, and what do you want to say, and then is it something that you're going to regret? Like, are you in a situation where, if you find yourself in a situation, this traditional versus rebel, where you have to adapt with grace, right? And both of these are living inside you, and you have this kind of like little tug of war, you could say, between these two archetypes. That's a time to pause and really acknowledge, like, what's really coming up inside of you. So it's a very personal, energetic type of thing to do. That's what I'm suggesting that you do this weekend, that you take the walks, and you clear your mind. And then when you're interacting with people, because obviously we can't spend a whole weekend out in fresh air just walking around, like connecting with nature, we have to live in an environment with people. So when you're having those times, that's the time to take this mindful approach to how am I trying to fit in and be a traditional conformist, versus what is it that I really want to do? What is it that I really want to say? What is more authentic for me? And I hope that this goes without saying, but this isn't to give yourself permission to do anything that is hurtful to other people. It's not to say to be arrogant or narcissistic, or I don't think that that's where people will go, but I always like to look at both sides of the coin. But it's usually that we are not recognizing our authentic self. And that's why I keep coming back to the mindfulness approaches, because that's when we start recognizing our patterns and our true feelings and our true emotions, and even what our body is telling us, and we ignore it. Like sometimes, or probably often, our body is giving us warning signals, but we're too busy to stop and say, oh, why is my stomach doing this? Or, why do I have that kind of fluttering going on? Or why do I feel flushed? Or I know I feel flushed, but I don't have time to think about that, to deal with that right now. Just to start being mindful of those things, to start uncovering these unique qualities, these rebellious qualities in ourselves that we are limiting, because it's more likely that we're trying to fit in as a traditionalist than to let our rebel out, right? Because being the rebel, stand out, and everybody's looking at you like, oh, well, what is that person doing? and that's Aquarius. That is this energy. That's what's coming about. But it can be it can get stuck because of these two things, kind of like at odds inside ourselves. And all we have to do is look at the news. It's all over the news. We see this really prominent right now. Do I get the vaccination? Do I not get the vaccination? That progression versus tradition. I don't have the answer to that. Everybody has to make their own choice. But this is the kind of energy that's also highlighted at this time inside ourselves.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah.
So instead of, usually as you were saying, we often have a lot of suggestions as to things we could do during the particular moon phase, but it sounds to me like the best thing to do is just kind of take some peaceful time out to journal and reflect and be more mindful about how we're feeling, and trying to get some awareness of these energies and how they're working within us.
Yeah, yeah. And to let that unique rebel in you out, which is not always easy to do. I think that's why the mindfulness approaches are important, because sometimes we don't even know. Like we can be like, yeah, I feel like I'm not, there's so much other, there's other things that I want to do, but do you even know what they are? You know what I mean? Sometimes people just feel like a lack of satisfaction, a lack of motivation, or I mean, we are all so busy, always so busy. And I rarely meet somebody who just has all kinds of time on their hands. I mean, I guess 2020 was unique where that happened, but it didn't happen. Everybody had to like hurry up and figure out a different way to live their lives. And here we are trying to come out of it. And there's really prominently this rebel versus tradition energy going on, but it's also happening inside of us. And this is a nice time to do that, because it's the full moon. It's about releasing. And you know, we didn't talk about the releasing ritual, but because that's posted online, and you can find through the links a releasing ritual for each element. This is an air element, and so air is the mind, it's thoughts, it's thinking. And so as you're doing this process, you'll hopefully discover some things that you want to let go, you want to release. And so doing that releasing ritual is something to do this weekend. And hopefully, you know, getting some fresh air and clearing your mind, and really spending some time on yourself, on what is it that I am not allowing to progress, and what is it that I'm holding on to that I need to let go of. If you can just do that this weekend, and then do the releasing ritual for those things that you've identified that you need to let go, that's amazing. That would be a really beautiful way to use the energy of this weekend. And to also keep in mind that it's really highlighted this weekend, but this energy is at play all year. So if you're like, oh, well, you know, that sounds like the whole year, not just this weekend. Yeah, you're right. And it's going to become really prominent again later in the year, like November-ish. So keeping in mind these things that we've talked about today can help later this year when they come back up again.
Okay, great. Very insightful. Thank you. Very interesting. So we will, we're going to start uploading these videos on to our new YouTube channel, right, Laurie?
Yep.
This is our objective. And we will be posting twice a month for every new moon and every full moon.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, and we'll be back.
Yeah,
a few weeks, right? I didn't write down the date, but it'll be about 2 weeks when we'll be posting.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, thank you, Laurie, and thanks to everyone for listening. I hope you've learned something new and beneficial for yourself, for your health and well-being, and we'll be back soon.